Hey everyone, we are live on BROfessor and Friends. Thank you for joining us. Here we go. Everyone, and we are live on the show. I am so excited tonight. So excited because I am in the midst of royalty right now. I am sitting here with none other than the Grand Poobah of action boards himself. Casey, welcome to the show. Uh-oh, I think your mic is muted. Is your mic muted? Oh, Lord. Lord help us.
Is that any better?
Yeah, that's a little better. It's almost like you're on the space station.
Oh, hold on. I got one more. Hold on.
Okay, holding on. Oh, my goodness. I never know what might happen. Tune it in.
All right. Can you hear me now, Joey? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Okay. Casey joins us with the most gigantic microphone cover in the history of the world. And thank you for putting my logo on your mic stand like I have your logo on mine. That's amazing. Well, you went through a lot of trouble. I appreciate that.
I did, my friend. I was so excited to see our sticker show up on your microphone stand that I just absolutely had to show back the love somehow.
Oh, that is incredible. I love it. I absolutely love it. Man, what is going
Incredibles? You know,
what is going on in the life of KC Steiner these days?
Oh boy, I tell you what, what's been going on in my life right now today is my wife shattered her wrist and had surgery a few days ago, had several plates, I think 9 pins. And so we have 2 little kids in school. So I've been getting to do that in addition to trying to take care of our customers.
Oh my goodness.
Which is, you never remember how much mom is doing until she's in there.
That's right.
My wife, Melissa, who a lot of our customers and users and fans and friends, people we've met out on the road, a lot of them know her because she spent years out there with me, and she is, I might be cheating her by saying half the business. She might be more, she's my better half for sure. And she does all the back office work and all the things that you don't see. And so we really suffer when mama goes down.
My goodness. I hate to hear that. We will say a prayer for her. Hope she has a speedy recovery and gets back to it, because I know that you are definitely missing her, because after a long hiatus of having trouble getting stuff, you've got tons of traction boards you want to offload, and you really need some help. I saw not very long ago you putting out a plea for people to come help at the warehouse.
Right. We, as a small mom and pop business, it's hard, especially we've been lucky enough to have our friends and customers spreading the word about the ActionTrax, that there's a US made alternative that it performs better in conditions you're going to encounter in North America, like sharp rocks, cold temperatures, a lot of different aspects, which we can get into later. But the day-to-day of it keeps us busy for sure.
I
Things grow.
guarantee
That's
you.
what I wanted to say is thanks to our customers, we've been staying busy. Things been going. They come in spurts, and recently we are just come out with a real interesting deal with the equipping some UN vehicles, so armored vehicles. So
Wow.
that did I send you a picture of those by chance?
Oh, we may have something on here. Does it look like that?
Oh boy. Okay, we'll get back to that. Let's that's a teaser.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Well, that looks like some zombie apocalypse things that we got going on there. But before we get too deep into anything, I wanted to compliment you on your local attire there, rocking the Rock Squatch shirt from Arkansas, Go Hogs, this weekend, and the Midland. I saw you posting some stuff about Midland at Expo West out there repping your stuff, so that's pretty cool.
Well, I try to be careful about what I wear. As you know, you're on the show there, and you got a hat on from Artemis. Aaron is a great friend of mine, and I've really enjoyed watching him grow from literally his old store, which was a little office with a campfire display set up in what used to be the secretary's area or something. So I go around the country visiting stores, and Aaron's showroom is really one of the best in the country.
It really is. And one of the very first stories that he ever told me when I went into his place was about how you walked around with ActionTrax in a backpack on your back and walking around selling them. That was just a great story about how it all began. But before we do that, before we go into your product, we want to know a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Remind me of that later. I want to tell you about the first time I ever sold a pair of recovery boards.
All right. I sure will.
Story in itself. We'll come back to that.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, for the most part. My mother raised me. My grandparents helped raise me. Later ended up out in the country where my stepdad was a demolition derby race car builder and driver, part of a family of demolition derby drivers, which were hated in the Tri-County area because you're not allowed to team do tactics and no malachi crunching in demolition derby. Yeah. But of course, now if there's two guys you can hit, one of them's your brother or your brother-in-law, one of them ain't, who are you going to hit? It's just the nature of the thing.
Yeah, that's it.
So that was my first exposure to motors and stuff. Although I didn't take to it, and but I seen it. I was around it, and I went on, and I actually had a variety of jobs, everything from being an apartment maintenance man to a pyrotechnician doing fireworks shows off of the rooftop of Caesar's Palace and Louisiana gambling boats to actually working at the White House with Monica Lewinsky. To working on traveling harvest crews, and somewhere along the way I ended up getting lucky enough to get into a airplane mechanics program and becoming an airplane mechanic, which was a great industry to be, a great job to have in Wichita, Kansas, which is the aircraft capital of the world, where over 70% of the planes in the world are made here. Learjet, Cessna, Bombardier, Stearman, Hawker, Beechcraft, and hundreds of associated machine shops, finishing shops. So if you want to manufacture something, Wichita, Kansas is a heck of a place to do it. I'm going to quit trying to look at, and I'm going to look at, yeah, I'm just getting this Zoom thing. Fortunately.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Well, that's interesting background for you. So when you were younger, what did you see yourself becoming when you grew up? What did you want to be? Any idea? Memories?
I thought I wanted to just be a part of the proletariat. I just wanted to be a working man and know all that school.
Blue collar. Yeah, just blue collar man.
I didn't do terrible in school, but I didn't do good either.
Well, I was the same way. I didn't do terrible, but it's because I didn't try. It's because I didn't do really well. I didn't care.
I wish I would have known. I see why all those people older than us told us study hard and this, that, and that. Well, I didn't like a lot of people. I had to find my way. And I ended up out cutting wheat and milo and barley and harvest grains of corn for 6 months from Texas to Canada and back. And
wow.
And after that, I was ready to go to school.
Did you ever see yourself owning your own business?
That's honestly, that was the only thing I ever wanted to do. That was the one thing that stayed the same. I took that money from that harvest crew. I'd already been, when I was 10 years old, I was hiring a neighbor kids to help me go clean people's garage and paying them $2 an hour and charging $4. And trying to organize labor and gain, and try to make people happy, customers happy, and do a good job of it. They thought it was cute then, thank goodness.
People will pay a kid just about anything. Well, that's interesting. So started out as a businessman from an early age. You just figured it out on your own.
I started a painting company. When I came back from the harvest crew, I took my little, we lived in trailers, five men to a trailer, and the boss's wife cooked. They were Mennonites and slaughtered their own meat. And I mean, we ate good. That's one thing I tell you what, we worked hard and ate good, about 16 hours a day, unless it was raining. Then the boss was in a terrible mood and we was polishing things. And,
oh my goodness.
After that, I took that money and I bought a pickup truck, and instead of painting, I knew how to paint houses and things. I had a little experience doing that. And I got some business cards printed, and I said, I'm going to call myself what did I want to call myself? I can't remember. Rembrandt Remodeling or something.
Yeah.
Dad, in his old smart man, he said, you ain't Rembrandt and you don't do remodeling. He said, a name should mean something.
Yeah.
A name should mean something. A name should say something. And so he said, the one thing you can offer is you can do it on time.
Yeah.
So we call ourselves On Time Painting. They had many other failed wins and losses in the business world, along with working for the corporate world as well. But when it came time to name our tracks, we wanted to say something. And tracks had become kind of the de facto word for recovery boards, recovery pads, traction pads, modern day sand ladders. You can go by many names. But, we said, what do? They get you back in action. And that's kind of where ActionTrax came from. So too, and I want to emphasize we were made in America.
Well, I am glad that you brought us back around to there, because we have one of your good friends joining us right now. Dennis, welcome to the show, brother.
Yo, how are you? Good to see you.
I was changing spark plug because I asked my son-in-law, hey, what time is it? And he goes, it's like 5 o'clock. I'm like, oh!
That's right. I don't know how many. That's Dennis. Look, I think that's Dennis in the back. Look, that's him in the background on the screen right now.
We got a double Dennis.
Yeah, that's Lord Part 2. Dennis is a star and a hero to me, and a hero to a lot of kids and a lot of racers.
Thank you.
Countries. And he's out there with grease on his hands, working hard, because it don't happen by accident, does it?
No, it doesn't. We've been working on steering boxes for Bochito. So,
Bochito, for those of the uninitiated, Bochito is the loving name known to the Volkswagen Bugs that were for a long time manufactured in Mexico City. That was one of the last places they manufactured Volkswagen Bugs. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, but Bochito or Bocho is the bug.
Yes. Yeah. Vocho spelled with a V is kind of like saying in the States, you say, hey, that's a cool looking bug you have there. Well, here they say, hey, su vocho está muy chido. Hey, your bug looks pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
So the kids at Casa Esperanza, on the night of our first race, when we broke down and shamefully brought it home, that's what the kids walked up and started hugging the car and calling it Bochito. And so that has stuck ever since.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
When my daughters were young, they always had the slug bugs, and every time they saw one, they smacked the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I don't know who started that, but I didn't like that a bit.
Yeah. I got hit that. Wow. I used to get that with my daughter too.
Dennis is a humanitarian.
Okay.
For those that don't know anything about Dennis's story, he's a humanitarian that lives in Ensenada, supports and races for and is supported by a school. It's a refuge for abused women and people in dire straits in the areas of Tijuana and Ensenada. It's a refuge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, didn't you tell me when I called you to ask if you could take a minute and talk to us, you were, instead of living your glamorous life as a score champion racer, by the way, man, I'm talking score #1 multi-year champion. Name the race, Dennis is podium there, if not won it.
Wow.
And he's out there laying cinder blocks, building septic tanks for little kids that don't have a home.
That's amazing.
I gotta give a shout out to Edgar, my son-in-law, and Marquitos, little Marcos we call them, and they're the ones that are actually doing a lot of the hard work. I just kind of go out there, lay a couple lines, make sure that is of the cinder block, and make sure that everything's going cool and they've got it down and they're moving. So yeah, yesterday I put down a few block and came home, my sciatic's all out of shape and my back's twitching. So
I can't
do the work anymore.
I think. Amen, brother.
But yeah, a lot of times, yeah, we gotta hang up the glamour sides of racing and the excitement and the fame and all that, and just roll up our sleeves and get to work. And that's part of our dream and our purpose of what we're doing is, kind of trying to be that example and get guys to take their hobby or passion one step further and find a cause, take it and make a difference in another life. So
that's not seen very often these days, and I admire you, Dennis. I work at a school. That's pretty much my full-time job, and this has been a tough year for schools. The last 2 years have been really tough with the pandemic going on, and treating others as if you would treat yourself is a commendable act. And I want to, I was excited that you were coming on to begin with, but now learning that's even more. That's just amazing.
Yeah, we actually spent about 2 years campaigning and building a elementary junior high school out there. And so we took our racing for a few years and really tried to promote the school construction. So it was really cool to see it open and thriving with 70 plus kids. And then boom, COVID hit. Yeah. And, it was nothing. And it's back open. The kids are going back to school. But of course, the government has their regulations and strict guidelines that Casa Esperanza has to follow. But it's really neat, again, to look over there and, again, see the doors open to the school and see it operating. So
if you can see, if you understand, if you love the desert, it is beautiful. I mean, it is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places you can be in the world. But if you just took every average day person and dropped them off there, it is rough living, man. I mean, these kids are tough, and they are good kids, and there's not the same opportunities and safety nets down there that there is for people. So people are doing programs like
they don't have.
There aren't many. The Casa Esperanza, Google it, check it out. Casa Esperanza, ESPERANZA, House of Hope, Casa Esperanza. ActionTrax tries to do what little it can. We're just a small mom, but we try to spend some of our proceeds from sales supporting the school and donate gear here and there when we can. And
fun. Remember when you forwarded us some funds and we took all the kids out to the movies to go see cars and stuff. That's cool. It was Casey is his heart is always doing what he can do. Yeah. And can I tell the story real quick at the cement mixer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Casa Esperanza. And we were getting ready to pour concrete. We had, I think, close to 12 to 13 meters of concrete coming in to pour. And it had rained a week and a half prior, a lot. So we thought, well, we're probably good to go. And these cement trucks started to back in, and they buried their front wheels in the mud. And then they buried their back tires in the mud. And I'm going, man, this truck is fully loaded, 7 meters of concrete. What are we going to do? And we were just like, I mean, it's going to be a long day trucking concrete to where we needed to go. And I looked over at my Jeep, Cherokee Chase, and I went, oh, I got it. I had my ActionTrax sitting on top of the Jeep still. And I ran over there, and luckily I had 2 sets of the ActionTrax, pulled them off. I told the guy, let's go, let's start digging. And they go, you're not serious. I go, yeah, I am serious. Start digging, and these are going to get the cement truck moving again. So we dug out, shoved the ActionTrax underneath, and said, all right, buddy, put it in reverse. And sure, he got his truck out, man.
Wow. You're talking 50,000 pounds there at least.
Yeah, I mean, it took some doing to get the traction boards back out of the mud, but it was incredible to watch that truck just bounce back and get it right where we needed it to be, right in the sweet spot. And ActionTrax really saved the day that day. So I know on 2 occasions, the concrete and the Baja 1000, that ActionTrax really came through and got us out of a big jam. So incredible product.
That's really cool. And while we get you on here, and I wanted to ask, how did ActionTrax and the Baja 1000, how did those come together? What's the story behind that?
Oh, well, see, I know Casey went way back from the days when he was with MaxTrax. And when things kind of didn't work out there, and and all of a sudden Casey just really bounced back, and it says, I remember it was the phone call or the email, one or the other, I don't really remember, but it was like, hey, don't just be on the lookout, something's coming, and it's big, and it's going to be better. And so I was like, wow, what is Casey into? Because he's got such a innovative mind. And when he came out with the ActionTrax, he got a hold of us and let us know what's going on, and asked us if we'd like to use a pair. And we said, well, of course. And he talked to me about the whole new design, just all the things he did different with the ActionTrax versus the MaxTrax. And let me tell you, the first time I had to use them, I was in the sand on the Baja 1000, and we got stuck pretty good. And man, when those tires hit the studs on the back end of those, I just felt the whole car pick up, and I knew we're going to be out of here in just a couple minutes. And sure enough, we were gone. And so it's for us running a limited class, a Volkswagen Bug, or even the guys in 516s or 1600s, we need all the help we can get. And it's a good race when we don't have to pull the ActionTrax off. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, I would not leave the start line unless I had those ActionTrax up top. I believe in them 100%. So it's when we go out and do our pre-running, our chasing, that's like throwing a tool bag in. You don't throw a tool bag in and you're making a foolish mistake. You don't throw in your ActionTrax up top, you're gonna pay for it one way or another. So it's a beautiful product. And awesome. So it's
tell them about the time we took the active duty special forces racing, and you guys.
That was the Baja. This is the same race where I got stuck, and Casey had a program and to bring some of our servicemen down here and get them in the race cars with us and spend some time so they could kind of observe how we work as a team and what we do when we're stuck out in the middle of nowhere. And
you guys, almost virtually unsupported, cover 1,000 undeveloped miles in somewhere between 24 and 48 hours.
Yeah.
Military is always interested in questions like that.
Yeah. That race was
to get to bring an active duty Alpha, operational deployment Alpha, from Fort Bragg down, and we split them up between. They entrusted me to pick 3 teams that would take great care of them, educate them, and provide a really rich, valuable experience for them. All, of course, free of charge, which was our pleasure. Mm-hmm. And I thought that I had raced the Baja 6 times before that, and never made it more than 500 miles. That's a nice story. I was a class 11 wannabe racer and a mechanic and working for pit crew companies and dreaming, man. I was dreaming. I wanted to get into racing, but I had to make a living along the way somehow. So I started selling old gear off the back bumper. The wife and kids were living in the RV with us along the La Frontera. Long before RVing with the family was cool, we were doing it to make the next $50 to get to the next race, and because we just wanted it that bad. And so we split the team up between 3 great teams that we knew we had a long experience working and racing with. And these guys came and stayed with Dennis in the compound. I stayed there. He hosted us in a really just a great situation. And we had planned on coming along. They wanted a plan. They wanted to know every soldier would be all the time. I kept telling them, "Man, are you kidding me? This is the Baja 1000."
Yeah.
I had a general plan that as things would go like normal, we'd sweep along and work on and trailer up the cars as they broke, because there's about a 50% DNF or did not finish rate in the 1000, where you've already got the world's best drivers and the world's best equipment, or 50% of them won't even see the finish line. And still we've been along sweeping them. Well, you could have tried this 500 times, it would have never worked again. These cars, Dennis and one of the other cars got in a race for first place in class 11, which is the toughest, gnarliest, most self-supported class there is in racing. And the other guy was in with Jeep speeders who aren't in a stock Jeep speed, which isn't a whole lot more advantaged. And they ended up coming in first and second in class 11 in a year when it's not unusual for no class 11s to even finish.
Yeah, a race like that.
Peninsula around 1,320 miles, was it that year?
No, it was over 1,100. I think it was just over 1,200.
It was way too long, man. It was way too long. And ended up getting 2 firsts and a second. And you could have tried that 1,000 more.
Yeah, you could. Exactly. You beat all the odds. You should have took a direct flight to Vegas. but just put your trust in 3 teams and all 3 teams podium. That was just crazy.
Yeah,
I think awesome. Even in our class, there were only 2 class 11s that made it on time. As us and Cisco Bio.
Yeah, and on time when you're desert racing. For those of you that don't know, there's no taking it easy. There's no hey, let's just kind of soul ride this for a minute. There's checkpoints periodically, and you're basically driving full throttle just to make it to the checkpoints. And if you have very many accidents that accumulate, very many minor mechanical problems that accumulate before you've accumulated enough checkpoints to have any kind of a chance to work on them, you can be out of the race by the first checkpoint.
Yeah.
I've seen people blow up. I myself have blown up in the parking lot before we got to the start line. Have you ever got to the start line, Dennis?
Yeah,
That's
fun.
Yeah. I mean, we had to change our alternator in Puertecitos, so we still managed to get there. I mean, not much time. We only made it with maybe, I think there was 30, 40 minutes left on the clock when we crossed the finish line.
And isn't it amazing to have something like that go out, and maybe you've got it, maybe you don't, and maybe somebody just pops up out of a bush, or maybe and has one in their hand, or maybe somebody has an uncle that has a friend one down the road and they pull it off a car. And I'm talking about racing down in Mexico. It's amazing the kind of enthusiasm and love you get from the people.
People come out of nowhere.
That's really the biggest reward. Which is why we go to places like Casa Esperanza, and when we come, and like when we brought the soldiers, to these soldiers' credits, after we talked about it a little bit, the first thing we did was we went to Walmart, we bought a bunch of toys, we bought a bunch of stuff, and we try to have a little present for these kids, because these kids don't, get stuff like that.
That's very cool.
You can come in. You can come in.
Yeah, come in.
Bring them in. Bring
There's
them
my daughter
in.
in the
This is a
background.
family
Say
show.
hi. Say hi. She's getting ready to go to the movies with our other daughter.
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
This is
I can't see your face.
daughter.
Yeah. Dude, you guys can go down.
A fabulous
There
cheesecake.
she is.
Hi. She fed all those troops
That's
down
Stella.
there when we were there.
love
Della's
it.
heading over with Angie to go to the movies. So
I
Great
love
skin.
it.
She's also, I think, maybe a black belt in karate, so watch out.
Oh my
no,
goodness.
that's Angie. This is Della here.
They're growing so fast, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, well, we another branch came onto the tree in the last couple years. So actually, we have Angie, Natalie, who we adopted, who used to live at Casa Esperanza, and Adela lived at Casa Esperanza for about a year and a half until we brought her in here to take care of and help her out. So
That's excellent.
so
That's very
yeah,
cool.
Casa has really sucked us in, kind of like the Baja. The Baja does that, sucks you in, and
Yeah.
you know, you no matter how much you sometimes look up in the sky and ask yourself, what in the world am I doing out here? You know, you do find out you have a deep love for it and a passion
That's awesome.
like any other. The longer you stay away, the more you miss it. The deeper you get into it, the more you hate it. This is this really weird love-hate relationship you acquire with the Baja, and it's here and it's ready to gobble you up and spit you out.
It's incredible and beautiful, and it will take a toll on you.
That's
It's
awesome.
here saying, "Look how beautiful I am! Come on in and play."
Oh man. Well, we have another guest that's waiting in the wings. But before we bring him on, let's pause for station identification and say thank you to our show sponsor. Stand by.
Hey guys, it's Chris from More Expo.
Aaron with Switchback Outdoor Safe. I know from Rhino Belt Rod and Custom.
Hey,
Jeff with Bad Act Adventure Co. Jeremiah from Overland Pioneer.
I'm Chef West.
hey,
It's Adam at Step 22 Gear.
Jordan from NSM Overlanding.
Walker from Autotronics in West Virginia. Hey, this is Aaron from Artemis.
I'm Tyler with Yoda Adventure.
And you're watching
And you're listening and watching.
You're listening to
You're watching
the BROfessor
BROfessor
and Friends.
BROfessor and Friends.
BROfessor and Friends.
BROfessor and Friends.
BROfessor and Friends.
Enjoy.
Sponsored by More Expo, April 8th through the 10th, 2022. Linson Solar, US ActionTrax, Big Iron Overland Rally, Artemis Overland Hardware in Springfield, Missouri, Blue Cell Coffee Roasters, and Long Creek Overland Apparel. Thank you for sponsoring our show.
And welcome, Mr. Carl, to the show.
This is the Grand Poobah. We have the Grand Poobah of racing, and we have the Grand Poobah of material science here.
This
Carl
is
Tell us what
incredible.
your title is, Carl.
This is incredible. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Carl. I know that you're a busy man, but I appreciate you accepting the invite from Casey to come on the show because we're highlighting his product tonight. Dennis is on here telling us about how he uses it, and we want you to come on to tell us about why it is superior to all the rest of them that are out there. So Casey, take it and let's tell everybody kind of how you started and the materials that you're using and why it's superior to all the rest of them that are out there.
Well, let me give a brief introduction because we have a true expert here on material science, which is really a treat and a pleasure for all of us, especially if you happen to be like a guy like me that owned a couple $100,000 worth of tool steel that was running every material you could find through it and not getting the performance you wanted. Now, Carl is R&D, organic chemist, engineer, among other things. He's a top brain at DuPont Transport R&D. And I'll tell a quick story. I made a video of all the off-shelf, highest-end materials you could buy. It was a last-ditch effort. We were about to have to turn our tooling into a boat anchor with the house double mortgaged and facing bankruptcy. And I made a video of all the off-the-shelf things. I was throwing them off ledges, showing how our customers use our stuff, and all the brand names blowing up, just exploding. and I set it to a little soundtrack of the only free song I owned on my iPhone, a broken crack screen iPhone, which was Shattered by the Rolling Stones. And I must have stayed up for 2 nights just sending it on the email to anybody that had plastic in their name. And somehow a couple days later, I got a call, and I got an introduction. He said, "My name is Carl Maurer. I'm from DuPont Transport R&D, and I think I've got an answer for you." And that's how I was lucky enough to meet Carl. Oh, mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, I think your mic is muted, girl.
You need one of these, Carl. Do you have one of these?
I'm trying to unmute his mic. I'm not being successful. The guest has chose to mute themselves. So there should be a little microphone. There we go. There we go.
Try again, Carl.
Yeah.
He's a scientist, not a he's not a TV celebrity.
Oh, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
No,
we still can't hear you.
There's got to be a volume adjustment.
Yeah, there should be something on there where you can click microphone. I heard something.
Check. No.
Still not there. That's all right. While Carl figures this out, Dennis, tell us.
We'll tell lies and swap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all have got a few stories up your sleeve.
Oh yeah.
One of my questions was, what was the first time that made you realize you needed some kind of traction boards in that race, something like that? Can't use winches. There's nothing out there to hook to.
Right.
What was the first time you realized you needed something like this?
Oh, well, actually, my first experience kind of doing some desert racing was with a team called the Desert Dingoes. And they
Burning Man fame.
Yeah, so when I got in the car, and they were using like pieces of carpet. So if they got stuck in the sand, they lay down this carpet and then they would go. But of course, there's, it only works so much and can do so much, and seeing some of the things that it didn't just kind of require. And eventually I did see these traction boards, and I saw where Casey was involved in racing at the time and doing stuff. And we didn't have, I think I was using an old pair of Smitty-Bilts. And and they kind of did the trick. They were okay. And we didn't even really have them secured in the car that well, and it was just kind of a real pain in the neck. And so seeing Casey and running into him at the races and just getting to know him, and seeing what he was doing at the time with MaxTrax, and just kind of threw it out there and asked him if we could get some help from him. And
I met a guy. I'll just address that right up front. People always want to know that story. We'll address it real quick. I met a guy that said, "Hey, I'm reintroducing the sand ladder, and man, we tried it in America a couple times, and nobody's buying these things." And I said, "Man, you got to get out there and take it to the people. So you got to get out there in the streets, in the deserts." And I'll tell you a real quick story about how I sold my first pair of maybe the first pair of recovery boards sold in the United States in the last 10 years, because we'll get to the point real quick. They're a 100-year-old U.S. invention. MaxTrax is nothing new. These recovery boards have been being made in one form or another for 100 years in America. We're just the latest and greatest mousetrap. Better design, better material. But I was working at a Best in the Desert race, which is an American league on U.S. government property race permits a lot of times, and real limited course access. It's not like Mexico where you can have your chase crew guys just kind of head out and find you.
Yeah,
they can get wherever they need to go. The only people that can get out there are rated course officials, which at the time I was a pit crew chief for out of Goldfield, which is a really nasty place covered with barbed wire and rattlesnakes. And I imagine Carl will call back in.
Yeah, he'll get the link.
So we'd all been hearing on the radio long after leaders had passed. We'd all been hearing on the radio about trucks stuck out there. We heard him calling for hours. And finally, he thought he was about a mile out. So I said, well, okay, I'm going to take this one pair of tracks that I'm supposed to build this empire with. I got one pair of tracks and a stack of stickers and 2 T-shirts. And I'm going to hike out here, and I hiked out there for about a mile or two. And this is August. It's 117 degrees in the middle of Nevada in August at the Vegas to Reno 500. Vegas to Reno, it's about a 500-mile point-to-point race, longest race in the United States, point-to-point race. And I get out there about a mile or two. I don't find them. I find a radio relay guy. The last one, he says, no, I think they're about another mile or two out there. I go just about as far as I'm willing to go with the 2 bottles of water and 35 pounds of tracks slung on my shoulders, 2 pairs, which get heavy as you're going a couple miles out. Just when I'm about to turn around, the sun's going down, I can see him way off in the distance, and I can see dust kicking out from the 2 drive tires, still just spinning away, still digging in hours later. And I said, boy, with my luck, I'm going for it. I'm going to walk all the way across this valley. And I say, with my luck, just as I get there, they're going to get unloose and drive away just as I'm coming over the last ridge. Then I get close, and there's a little berm, and I stop, and I try to kind of slick my hair up, and I want to pop out like a salesman and kind of be funny about it, you know. Hey, can I interest you in recovery? And these 2 guys, it was an 18-year-old kid and about a 50-year-old guy. The 50-year-old guy was on the edge of death under a tumbleweed, suffering from heat stroke. They had taken both their $900 Momo race suits and shoved them under the tires, which had turned into shreds.
Oh, no.
And the kid was still digging. Long story short, we went there, we put in the recovery tracks, and in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes, we were free. Well, then I come to realize, I said, well, I was still not that familiar with every class race car, and this was a class 1 car. And I said, great, guys, where's the back seat? I'll jump in for the ride home. They said, there's no back seat. I said, well, I'm not walking home after all that. And they said, well, jump up and hold on to the spare tire, and we'll try to go just slow enough to keep from getting stuck in these silt beds. This turned out was about 40 or 50 miles an hour. And so I held on to that spare tire with the tracks wedged in between me because it was the only pair I had. I had to hold on to it for dear life. So I was going to build my empire on. And we went at minimum speed, which is about 40 or 50, for about 3 miles. And I got the scars on my chest to prove it, too, from where the teeth are. And we come pulling into the pits, and everyone actually stood up and cheered and clapped. And everyone thought that was great. And I looked at him. I said, now give me $300, please, and take the They all grumbled, go through their pockets. And that was the first pair I sold.
Oh, you saved that guy's life. It was worth it. It was worth it.
Carl,
Doesn't get any better than that.
are you back, Carl? Oh, no.
Oh. Carl's microphone is malfunctioning. So he's talking. We just can't hear him.
Yeah.
He's on here. We just can't hear him. He's off again.
We love trying.
Yeah.
Carl,
well, I really want to hear from him, too.
Genius.
Yeah, I really want to hear from him.
Yeah, there's got to be a spot there. I know I had to click to give my computer permission or give your app here permission to use my microphone and camera.
Right.
Oh, right.
That beat. So
right.
Yeah. We'll see.
So Dennis, are you still racing?
Oh yeah. Still racing. I mean, it's been a little different with the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
Some of our funding hasn't, exactly been there, so we've had to pick and choose what races we do according to what we can really budget and take charge of. And so this last 2020, we just did one race. That was the Baja 1000. We did the NORA Mexican 1000 this last April. And now we're getting ready for the Baja 1000, which will be in November. So, and that is the granddaddy of all, off-road racing right there.
Yeah.
So I think I hear Carl rustling around.
So, but
I think
I got it working now, guys.
Hey, Carl.
Yes, I did.
Hey, all those fails, go to the phone. It'll work. It'll work.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Carl,
Sorry about
welcome
that,
to the
guys.
show, Carl. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. First off, you guys said I'm super busy. I'm not nearly as busy as Dennis. I don't know how you do everything you do, Dennis. So,
oh man, yeah. Started the day off laying block and ended it changing out spark plugs and steering boxes, and we just whatever. So
Wow.
I think pretty soon I got to go cook dinner.
Good for you.
That sounds like me. Put in a full day, and then I come home. My wife says, "Hey, what are you cooking for dinner?" I was like,
Yeah.
Whatever you want, babe. Whatever you want." Oh man,
I know the feeling.
I'm excited
it's
to have
good,
you on
so.
here, Carl, because we're definitely highlighting these action tracks. It's I love looking at the website because it has an unconditional guarantee on there. And if the product was not high quality, you wouldn't be able to have that. And I want to know, and everybody that's out there listening wants to know what makes these better than the rest of the stuff that's out there. And you being a materials guy, you should know that. So we expect you to know that.
So, I would love to say I got it right the first time, but the first grade of our Hytrel elastomer material that we tried was a little too stiff and had some issues at cold temperature. So we had to go to a little bit softer grade, which was maybe a little counterintuitive for something that's going to be used for digging sand or snow or getting a vehicle unstuck from whatever situation that somebody could get it in. But the nice thing about Hytrel is, while it's an elastomeric material, it loves structure and geometry, and the boards that KC was trying to mold had plenty of structure, and we just needed to have a material that could have the flexibility under load, especially when it's 10, 20 below zero, to not shatter. And knew that once we had that material that wouldn't shatter at the cold temperature side, that it should still be stiff enough when it's 120 degrees in the desert to support a vehicle and help get unstuck from sand. And it's taken a lot of work, and I can't take all of the credit. I've got a lot of good colleagues here at DuPont that certainly helped support get the material picked out. The main one is Brian Golt. He's our processing specialist. In case Brian says hello. And Brian and I first met Casey in person after traveling through an ice storm in southeastern Kansas in February. I go to one of the molders that he would to have mold parts for him. And unfortunately, the tool had some issues in it. And Casey had unfortunately gotten some misleading advice prior to working with us. But we helped Casey out. We talked to him and explained to him how to get the tool dialed in. We found a great molder in McPherson, Kansas, Ferguson Production.
For reference, I was at the time molding in the middle of a Superfund site outside of an Indian reservation in Miami, Oklahoma. And I think they made dog food in the back half of the factory. And that's when Carl flew in. And that's the first time we met. And he looked around and he said, "My goodness, you've got an incredibly built tool here, built by a world-class aircraft manufacturer, guys. And we're going to get you out of this place." And all of a sudden, people that wouldn't talk to me before, when Carl called them, had representatives at my house within hours, and things started rolling. Wow. It's really hard when you're a product, an unproven product. You're just the next guy with the great idea. You don't have any extra capital or anything. It's really, the odds are stacked against you. So the one thing that your only hope and prayer is friends, your reputation, hard work, but you're going to need some friends and some angels to show up in your life, like you're looking at a couple of them on the screen here that have helped me and my family, and anyone that uses RecoveryTrax get something better for their money and maybe get their life saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Carl, I know it's every day for you being in research and development, but for normal brain guy like myself to come up with something that's flexible, almost indestructible, that can do its job in 120 degrees or minus 20 degrees, all the variables that go into that and the variations that you have to research with this material, that blows my mind. For it to be able to perform in all conditions, that's got to be a huge amount of research that goes into that to make that material where it will sustain those.
Yeah, so our high trail product line has been around for over 40 years, and you guys would be very familiar with some of the major applications that it's been sold into in automotive. Airbag deployment doors on your steering wheel, CVJ boots. You remember the old rubber CVJ boots that would be torn and shredded after 10,000 miles.
Yeah.
DuPont worked with the automotive OEMs to develop CVJ boots out of Hytrel, which has much better flex fatigue life, much better tear resistance, much better resistance to grease. And now you have CVJ boots that can last 100,000 miles. Those applications have to work no matter if it's 40 below zero in Alaska and Canada or 120 degrees in Phoenix, Arizona in July. And that's one of the unique things about the material is it's got a very consistent performance across that wide temperature range. So understanding that, then and knowing the issues that Casey had been facing and having a bit of an understanding of off-road vehicles and all of the things that they can go through and the situations you can find yourself in those types of vehicles. Not that I've ever gotten stuck myself, but
yeah,
Carl's a bit of an outdoorsman.
That situation. Yeah, understanding those situations then help me to say, okay, we can start here. We know we needed something. One of the things that Casey wanted to be able to do would be able to lay them across a narrow creek so you could use them as a bridge. And so we went a little too stiff in trying to get that. But we were able to correct that problem and get him a material that filled a very large part, which required very high flow.
Oh. Hey, Carl.
Oh.
We lost your mic again, Carl.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Hey, Carl.
Sorry about that.
Let me ask you the $1 million question. How come everybody doesn't make everything out of Hytrel?
Good question. Good question.
Right?
Well, he didn't want to answer that. He's gone.
It's the most expensive other thing you can buy. That's why.
Oh man, Carl said, "I am not answering that question."
Which is what makes.
That's not what I was.
We give more.
That phone call came in and screwed something up here real quick. So.
Carl's a busy guy. He's got to answer his phone. Hey, if you need to answer a call, that's fine. We'll wait. No big deal.
Oh, no, I'm sure it was a robocall.
Yeah, they wanted to make you a good deal on your car insurance, I'm sure.
So how does warranty for my company car I had 10 years ago or something?
How would you rate the material we're using, what we're buying, compared to nylon and polypropylene and some of the cheap plastics that you see widely used in other recovery boards? Well, that was convenient.
Boy, you ask him a question, he just leaves the building.
Man, I'm going to remember that.
I'm getting
Have some bandwidth issues.
He's one of
Yeah.
these. That's what
It's really weird. I can't hear the question.
Bandwidth.
Sorry, Mike. That phone call really screwed things up. I'm having a
That's
tough
all right.
time with tech tonight.
That's all right. You know, that's what happens when you're live. This is a real show. This is not a recorded show here. So this is the real deal. You get what you see.
Yeah,
Get what you
dogs, everything.
Yeah, dogs and everything. Well, my dog started barking just a minute ago.
Well, my
Casey-
daughter Adela left, and then Debbie's gone at her physical rehab, so I'm stuck here with the dogs. It's dinner time, so like, hey man, what up with the grub?
You got to fix yourself something to eat and them something
Yeah,
too. Huh?
go make a bologna sandwich. I'm busy.
Well, just for your viewer that thought we were actually going to talk about recovery boards very much,
Yeah.
let me throw the basic quick little deal on recovery boards. There's really only two factors.
Sorry about that.
There's really only two factors. There's design and material. And then there's a slightly more esoteric third factor of who are you spending your money with? Is it made in America? I mean, that's a slightly more esoteric factor, but hey, for the most part, what we're concerned about is does it work? And that's a combination of design and material. We have taken the best of the ideas plus the improvements that we thought we needed to make, which include better sawing ends, bigger handles, better linkage, and several other things, but just to abbreviate them, and what we feel is the best design available in the world. Then we went out and partnered with, we were lucky enough to get to partner with what we feel is one of the smartest petrochemical engineering companies in the world, a very unique department within them, transport R&D, that wanted to help us, which allowed us to develop the best material in the world. Why don't more people do this? Because our material costs a little over twice as much as the next expensive most competitor.
Wow.
So how do we do that? How do we offer a better product at a slightly less price? We operate on thin margins. We don't have any worldwide shipping costs to pay, and we pass more of the value on to the consumer by giving them essentially more for their money.
For your money. Yeah. All right. Well, Carl's here. He can ask him a question and try to make him disappear again, Casey.
I was going to ask, how would you give us some of the factual information about how the material we're using for the ActionTrax compares to nylon 6 and polypropylene and some of the other widely used materials you've seen in the imports and Chinese knockoff recovery boards, just purely from a metric standpoint.
Okay, sure. So I'll compare it to I'll compare it to the nylon 6 first. So nylon 6 is inherently a little stiffer, and it's got higher temperature capability on the high end, but it tends to be, unless you put a tremendous amount of rubber in there to toughen it up, it can be a little bit brittle on the cold temperature side. It's also greatly affected by moisture absorption, like just from the humidity in the air. So it's going to behave a little differently in New Orleans, Louisiana than it would in Phoenix, Arizona, or Fairbanks, Alaska. Polypropylene doesn't have the moisture absorption issues, but it's a lower temperature material. And for all intents and purposes, it's basically it's used in a lot of packaging applications because it's inexpensive. It's got decent toughness and decent structural capabilities, but it isn't very hard. And when it's 120 degrees and you take it and put it in some sand and run a car over it, it's going to deform because it doesn't have a tremendous amount of strength versus something like a nylon or the Hytrel. Now, Hytrel is a polyester-based elastomer material, so it has it's a copolymer made of a polyester and a polyester.
You guys getting on
soft segment.
There'll be a quiz later.
And the benefit that you get from that is you get chemical resistance and structural strength from the polyester. And the professor, and the segment provides you with the flexibility that you need. And so it's really a highly engineered material that provides you a very good combination of strength, stiffness, impact resistance, and toughness. And it has a decent wear characteristic as well. So as a result, it ends up really being a nice material for this type of application.
Well, I can say most likely I won't remember all that when I'm stuck out in the middle of the desert somewhere in the middle of an off-road race trying to think how I'm going to get out of here. But I know once we pop up on our traction boards and take off, we'll just know one thing. It works.
Well, and I was thinking the same thing, Dennis, because, you know, in Arkansas, anytime we're off-road, we're surrounded by trees. So we've always got a tree to hook onto. And so here, you know, people might say, well, I want to set maybe for down the road or something like that. But for you, who's, you know, 100 miles from nothing, you're not gonna buy something cheap that may break or may melt in the sand because it won't withstand the high temperatures. And so, you know, the buy once, cry once thing really sets in here because you want to get the most for your money. And like Casey said, he's really working on low margins to get everybody the best deal for their buck. But for those guys out there
and the best price,
right, and the best price,
and the best price.
But so many people are out there on Amazon looking at, you know, the cheapos. I can't even think of half their names right now, but I've seen so many of those break in half, or you bend them and they stay bent.
People always ask me about them, and I say, hey, look, if you're stuck, they're fantastic. You know, I'll take a carpet scrap. I'll take anything if I'm stuck. And those inexpensive polypropylene, ABS, PVC blends, they sell a lot of tracks for us because people use them once, they break, and they say, hey, that was pretty cool. I see now why I need the good ones.
Yeah.
They will work multiple times.
That money you might save by buying a cheaper brand has absolutely no value or no help to you when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're stuck.
Ours really
value and quality that's going to make the difference.
That was our goal. Was from we've been doing this for selling recovery tracks from one place or another for this will be our 10th year. We were about the first people out there doing it off the bumper, and our goal is to be able to provide a track that would be a real tool for soldiers, for racers, for utility vehicles, as the styles and those, you know, this, that, and the other changes. As I think there's going to be companies get gobbled up in this overland. I think this overlanding thing is going crazy. It's been fun and fascinating watching it, and I hope it lasts forever. But our goal, you know, there's going to be a shakedown at some point, and the tools, the things that are really tools, are going to stick around. And I really think that recovery tracks for a certain segment of people that operate off pavement are going to be a tool here for a long, long time. There's cars and tools.
I agree. And I want to put this out there to everybody who is frugal or cheap or whatever. Yeah, you might go out there and get cheap because you say, well, if it breaks, I'll just get another one. Well, who says you're only going to get stuck once? You get stuck once, use them, they break, you get stuck again. Now what? So this is not something that you want to skimp on. This is something you don't want to be stuck out there. Like Casey said, in his very first time that he ever sold one, guys laying over there dehydrated, about to die, and all he needed was just something to get him out. You don't want to skimp on this.
And
that cost your life.
They say, do I need the metal ones? Do I need the standard ones? Do I need the cheap ones? Do I need the expensive ones? I say, what's your exposure level? You know, how important is it you don't get stuck? Are you at the state park with your, with 5 other cars and you're cruising around and you do that once a year? Hey, you may not need the most expensive world-class gear for everything. I never had great fancy gear. I was a dirtbag desert racer, but recovery tracks were something I picked up on quick. But for me, that was a game changer.
We had one race where we didn't get stuck just once. We got stuck a multiple of times because the guys hit such a long patch that they unfortunately kind of took the wrong line and ended up some really soft sand, and we had to go chase them. But those traction boards had to get them unstuck probably more than 20 times until they finally hit some hard pan where they could go. But they just had to keep putting them forward. But they had to keep using them over and over and over. So, there comes a time when you don't need to get unstuck just once. I mean, you might need them for, a multiple of times to last and do the job they were meant to do. And that's
business. It can save you a lot of money to get your crew working again instead of messing around pulling vehicles around. Really, the purpose of the vehicle self-recovery boards is that ideally, and I'd say 80 to 90% of the time, when deployed correctly, that you can get a vehicle moving without anybody else having to come out to you, which is a huge time saver and a huge money saver. And for a soldier or a racer, it's the only way you're going to keep moving. Now, you do something about frugal. For all you frugal people out there, you send an SASE envelope to this address, and I'll send you 2 stickers just like the one right here on our friend Joey the BROfessor. So I'll hold this up for a minute, and you send me an SASE envelope to this, and I'll send you some stickers for all our friends here from the show, all right? Right fast.
Harry.
I just covered it in my desktop. I need some fresh stickers for the coming race.
No, that's just something special for your viewers. All right, that's it.
Well, I can say that's one sponsored decal we proudly display on our vehicles. That's for sure.
Thank you, Dennis, and we are very proud to be on Bochito and your vehicle and a part in a tiny way of Casa Esperanza. And I would encourage everybody with a small business or that has the ability to make some small donations to organizations that are valuable and close to their heart, because if everybody helps a little bit, then we don't need big government. We don't need other people bossing us around and telling us what we need in our life. If everybody just helps a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I agree.
There you go.
I agree.
Big time.
Well, guys, this has been a true pleasure for me. We're sitting at an hour and 5 minutes, and it doesn't seem like we've been here 10 minutes because
we haven't even talked about recovery boards yet.
This has been a true pleasure for me. I appreciate y'all being on here so much. This has been so eye-opening. Carl has said words I've never heard before, which is, I feel smarter for talking to you and listening to you, and I appreciate that. But it has really opened my eyes to, there's so many different products out there. The one that you choose will really make a difference. And I think it's been eye-opening to a lot of people. There's people out there who watching who are like, man, I had no idea. But if you're out there, you don't want to be stuck out there. You want to get home to mom, let them go to the movies, and then you have to fix yourself a bologna sandwich and the dog.
Yeah.
So, take care of it.
Get ruined by
exactly.
You're stuck.
That's right. Being stuck is not fun. It's a very helpless, hopeless feeling that nobody likes to be in. So,
Joey,
yeah,
Dennis, Carl, I want to thank especially Carl and Dennis. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your schedule.
Man, you're welcome.
Indulge me on my crazy thing to come visit with Joey the BROfessor with our good friends at Artemis. who this is all part of a little Midwestern crew, and we really have a lot of love for. And I'll see you at Rendezvous with the Ozarks at Birds.
Yes, you will. In about 2.5 weeks, we will be there. I'm glad you're coming. Man, that's going to be awesome. We're going to have a great time.
We'll have a booth at Overland Expo in a few days, and we may be at SEMA, so be looking for us.
That's what I got to look forward to. I'm getting close to retirement age here, so I got to start thinking about getting myself an overlanding trailer. And
sponsors out there, this is your man. This is your man.
Yeah, this is the way to go. This is the way to go. I'd
love to grab a trailer and hit the unexplored of Baja. That's for sure. It's a beautiful place. So race by it, never get to see it.
That's right. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for being on here, and for those who are listening or watching, we appreciate you being here. There was 1,000 different places you could be. I hope you got smarter like I did for watching, and I hope you got something out of it. I hope you have a wonderful week. Remember, watch out for number 1 and don't step in number 2. Have a great week.
Dance, baby, don't stop.
Thank you for watching.
BROfessor
And Friends.
Sponsored by US ActionTrax, Linson Solar, MORE Expo, Big Iron Overland Rally, Blue Cell Coffee Roasters, Long Creek Overland Apparel, and our good friends at Artemis Overland Hardware. Thank you for watching.